Hey everyone, with it currently being probably one of the best times alive to be a Kendrick Lamar fan, I thought I'd take a moment and ask a question about his probably most critically acclaimed album. Not necessarily his most popular album, that probably go to Damn or Good Kid, Mad City, but it's critically considered his best album, To Pimp a Butterfly, which I believe, as of recording this, is soon to be 10 years old. An entire decade of T-Pav existing, which now begs the question, is this album a classic? And now classic gets thrown around so much, it can be thrown on an album after it being existing for a year, which I think is stupid. I think for an album to even be considered a classic or even be in discussion for it, it needs to at least have a decade of existence, as I think that's a very good testing ground to see if sonically what they do has managed to stay prevalent, has not aged poorly, and if it does age necessarily, it at least does not come off bad. It at least makes you remember the time. It's evocative, and I thought this would be good to talk about for To Pimp a Butterfly. And To Pimp a Butterfly is just one of the greatest rap albums of all time, period. And with 10 years, I feel like that opinion has grown stronger. I could have understood at when the album first came out, people being like, oh my god, I can't believe people are already saying this is one of the greatest rap albums of all time. As, you know, that's kind of a hard thing to say, considering all the rap albums out there, all the great ones. And when it comes to Pimp a Butterfly, I think there's so much to it, so many layers to it that are so interesting and well executed. As far as just concept albums go, I think To Pimp a Butterfly's up there, because usually when I'm thinking of concept albums, my brain normally goes towards more rock music, like Pink Floyd I often think of. But rap has some underrated gems when it comes to these concept albums, and I think To Pimp a Butterfly is the best example of that. And there's other artists as well, like Tyler, the Creator, who's very big on conceptually albums. Kendrick Lamar as well for other albums. I think almost every album he's made has had some greater concept to it, been a concept album. But I've kind of droned on the pretense of this album. But going on to the songs, because musically that's one of the most important parts, it is amazing. Whether it be the jazz rap kind of styles it uses on there, the very psychedelic, very funky sounds, such as on freaking Wesley's Theory. Oh my god, that's probably one of my favorite rap songs of all time. Thundercat plays bass several times on this album. It's amazing. Kendrick Lamar, for the most part, kind of takes the solo show for this entire album, which I'm always a fan of. I think he works best by himself. I mean, having features is good here and there, but I really like to see him stand on his own. And I see it throughout this album. And a lot of people, I know some people are like, oh, this album isn't that fun to listen to, which I think is crazy, because as I said before, Wesley's Theory. You also have the song I, which I think is one of the most entertaining songs Kendrick Lamar's ever released. It's just so fun. Just a lot of great songs in there. All Right, which is another amazing song. It's just good to hear. King Kunta is bombastic, is the greatest way to describe it. And I've already named off a bunch of songs. And there's also These Walls, which is just a great listen. Institutionalized, fits very well thematically. How Much a Dollar Costs, lyrically and thematically, is one of the most powerful songs I think I've ever heard. And now, I've been talking about the theming, but I haven't exactly mentioned what exactly it is, which, for the people who maybe haven't listened to the album or are looking to get into Kendrick Lamar, it is the simplest way I can describe, and it is not the greatest way to describe it, but it's the simplest way I can, is talking about social injustice towards the African-American community from this institutionalized just pathway. And it goes into greater detail, has more concepts throughout the album that goes into it. Mortality is another theme of this album that I love, that Kendrick has done in several albums, but he does it amazingly on here. And you just have so many great songs. I think this album is powerful to that message, holds it very well, and has been very evocative to people's responses with this stuff. I also think another key sign is the response this album has gotten from people who aren't affected by it, like me. To just put it simply, I am not someone who's been affected by racism, by poverty, by these wage gaps, by all this stuff. That's something that I have never experienced and probably will never experience, which I'm thankful for. But the fact that this album has not, I won't say resonate with me because that's just not it. But the fact that I've still been able to listen to it, and his storytelling and illustrative work makes me almost understand what he's saying, is an incredibly impressive thing. As it's very hard to picture stuff that you don't understand, or you don't understand fully. So for him to be able to illustrate that, I think is such a great strength. I feel like this album has still managed to last the test of time as this decade. I know 10 years doesn't seem like a lot, but I think 10 years is a very great guesstimation for where an album stands. And when it comes to whether this album is a classic or not, damn right it's a classic. I mean, everything I've said already, I don't really know what other argument you need. It's gone 10 years straight of being one of the most popular albums in just these online music forums. Rap-wise, it's one of the most popular. Kendrick Lamar has continued to cement his legacy. But I think T-Pab is one of the hardest albums, I think, to top. And I don't necessarily think he's topped it, but I think he's managed to make albums that might be just as good or like on a different level. I just think it's a great album. I think it's a classic. I think it's very hard to deny its classic status. And I think if it's already survived 10 years of popularity and almost remaining the same level of popularity, I think it's going to last another 10 years, 20, 30, 40. I think it'll go on, and that's just my opinion on that. But let me know what you think. Do you think this album is a classic? Bye.